If not, all those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Moving to item number 3, final plat for Clifton Valley subdivision. Be tax map 128, parcel 37.00, 7.71 acres, East Piney Road, Dixon, Tennessee, A1 agricultural, 2nd district.
Okay, you do have a revised copy there. You will see on it, the location of the fire hydrant has been shifted slightly between the lots. This was surveyed by XO Land Company to create 6 new lots, which is phase 1 of the Clifton Valley subdivision. Lot 1 was approved administratively in April of this year. The Water Authority does have a 6-inch water line. It will require the fire hydrant. At this time, they've not paid for the surety as of yet.
They did, I've got a,
Okay, I know I talked to David this morning. He didn't. Okay,
there's a copy of the receipt
Okay.
right there. He's
Okay.
paid it, so.
okay. So I know he said he was gonna today.
And Mike Rogers had a question about what we originally had at the intersection of the road.
He wanted
I
to.
moved it down, so that's on this plan.
Yeah, it's on the revised. You see, they shifted it over out of the intersection. That was from the Water Authority. Amanda?
Again, just a very small, minor comment, and really just to kind of address the commission as a whole. When I'm putting comments like indicate the maximum height, it's just simply to round out the data table, so to speak. But Director Darnell is absolutely correct. It gets caught at building. It's just one of those checklist items. And with that, the only comment I had was to indicate the maximum height requirement for the zone.
We added that to our typical law. That was the
They did
bottom,
add that,
so
yeah.
We corrected that.
Okay, I do have, was there any kind of considerations for sidewalks or bike paths, considering this is
No.
gonna be 14 houses?
Nobody's gonna maintain them.
Okay. All right, then I motion to approve with staff comments.
Okay, have a motion by Ms. Ferris to approve with staff comments.
I will second that, Mr. Chairman. I do have a question / comment, I suppose.
Okay, we'll get the motion in order and then go into discussion. So I do have a proper second by Robert Qualls, and now we'll open the floor for discussion.
Okay, this is me speaking for me, but the kiosk note, I approve of how that's done and formatted. And I'm wondering if we need to kind of encourage everybody to adopt something very akin to that, if not exactly that, unless such time as there are Dixon County kiosk regulations. Because this is never going to go away. The post office has got their mind made up. And that's done. I think that's done the right way, and it
I
probably
agree.
ought to appear on all our future plats. I just wanted to get that on the record that that's what I think.
I agree. We'll put that on the record. So that's just a comment, not a
Yeah.
add-on.
Yeah, it's just a comment that shouldn't we do this all the time?
I agree. Okay, we have a proper motion and a proper second and a suggestion. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Okay, we'll move now into the other business. There is no other business, but I think Mr. Comer is going to give us an update on the ad hoc committee.
I am. Thank you. My colleagues, what I think in your package, you'll see in the one that was on your desk is the Rural Ag Protection Package as agreed by the ad hoc committee. For those of you that may not be aware about the ad hoc committee, especially the new commissioners, when this Rural Ag Protection Package was passed by the Planning Commission back last year, went to the County Commission, and not all of it goes to the County Commission, only the zoning code sections go to the County Commission, but the County Commission didn't act on it. And they instead decided to form an ad hoc committee comprised of 3 county commissioners, 3 planning commissioners, and at the time, 3 community stakeholders. The third community stakeholder couldn't serve, so there was 2 community stakeholders on the ad hoc committee.
Would you state who they are, please?
Oh, shoot. Let's see if I have that with me. Well, the commissioners were myself, Beth Garrett, and Todd Berry. The planning commissioners were Mike Petty, Cotton Dawson, and Danny Williams, who was the chair. The stakeholders were Dennis Holtz and Cindy Gray. It became pretty clear in the ad hoc committee that the heartburn that the commission was having was mostly over the subdivision regulations, which they don't get to vote on. So that became the part that was the most negotiated among the ad hoc committee, was what changes might be willing to bring back to some of those subdivision regulations in order to get support for the zoning code provisions. So what I'm going to do is take you through each of the provisions, starting with the zoning code provisions, and just highlight what the changes were. The fact that the headline is, except for one subdivision regulation, which we agreed not to go forward on, the changes are relatively minor compared to what the planning commission did. So starting with zoning code 3.030, the only change was we had approved a frontage on that section E of 160 feet. The ad hoc committee moved that down 10 feet to 150 feet. And that's the change. And we added that lots of 5 or more acres are exempt from the requirement. That's the only change to 3.030. Zoning code 5041, which is the minimum lot size. We proposed 1.5 acres at the planning commission. The ad hoc committee agrees with that. And so that is still 1.5 acres. But the lot width, of course, went from 160 feet to 150 feet, just like the previous zoning code. So 10 feet less on the lot frontage. That's the only change compared to what the planning commission approved on those 2 zoning code changes. Now on the subdivision regulations, the ad hoc committee had no changes to our amendment of section 1-104 of the subdivision regulations, adding paragraph O. So paragraph O, which grants the commission the ability to base decisions upon the goals and policies set forth already in the subdivision regulations, is unchanged from what we approved last year. The big change is the subdivision regulation 2-101. This was the 50% rule. That was the rule that said that if you were subdividing land along a county road, you could only subdivide half of that land based on certain sizes. There was a lot of heartburn on that provision. So what we ended up doing is we agreed to not go forward. The 3 planning commissioners agreed not to go forward on that. By the way, I should say that all of these, this outcome of the ad hoc committee is unanimous. So there, with the exception of Dennis Holtz, who wasn't present at the time, but was in support of these provisions. But the ad hoc committee members that were there at our last meeting unanimously supported the changes before you. It was not a majority minority recommendation. So we have agreed not to go forward with the 50% rule. And frankly, the ad hoc committee couldn't reach a majority vote on that either way. And so that was the ultimate decision there. That was actually the biggest change. Moving on to subdivision regulation 4-102.3, the width to depth ratio is unchanged from what we agreed on at the planning commission. And so the ad hoc committee is supporting that as we approved it. 4-103.111 subdivision regulation for public road access requirements. If you recall, what the planning commission did here is, first of all, we rewrote this provision to actually make some sense because the way it was drafted was really hard to understand. But the big change we made was that for all major subdivisions, that no major subdivision could be approved that had any of the 5 defects listed in the provision. And on the second defect, Romanet number 2, we had changed that from an average width of 18 feet to 20 feet. The real argument at the ad hoc committee was over 18 or 20 feet. And ultimately, we went back to 18 feet for the following reason. It turns out that if we were to say, you have to improve, we can't approve your subdivision if you're on a roadway that's 18 feet width. The remedy for that would be, well, you grant us a dedication. Well, for major subdivisions, they grant dedications of 50-foot right of ways anyway. So whether it's 18 feet or 20 feet, you're going to get that dedication in the 50-foot right of way dedication that's required for any major subdivision. So it became somewhat of an academic point, whether it's 20 or 18 feet. So the compromise was we gave on the 18 feet and it goes back to 18 feet. But what they gave on was the last paragraph, which says that you can't have any of these defects. If the old provision said you could have 2 defects, this now says you can't have any of these defects, but the commission can grant you a waiver under certain conditions if the circumstances warrant it. So mostly this is exactly what the planning commission voted on, with the exception of really the 18 feet, going back to 18 feet. Last one, I think, is 4-111 and 5.102, which kind of are sister provisions. They kind of read together. This is the amendment of the preservation of natural features and amenities. In the original code, natural features and amenities was not defined. And it gave the planning commission the power to require something on these undefined natural features and amenities at the preliminary plat process, which was really unfair because you have surveyors going out there surveying, and they don't know that we're going to ask about something until they bring it before us, expecting us to approve it, which is not fair to them. And it's certainly not fair to us. So now we've changed this to say, what is a natural feature? What is an amenity? And just put it on your map. And then when you put it on your map, we can talk about it. And that way, no one is suddenly with undue surprise having to talk about something they didn't know they were going to have to talk about. That part of it is unchanged. The only change to this provision out of the ad hoc committee was in the diameter of trees. The trees that have to be shown on the map, we originally had 2 different diameters for different types of trees. That was changed to a 10-inch diameter for any tree. These are standalone trees, not every tree on the site. If it's a standalone tree and it's 10 inches or more in diameter, you have to show it on the plat. If you have a stand of forest, what we did in the original ordinance, and which is still here, is that you just need to show a bubble where a woodland is. You don't have to do every single tree on the site. So the only change here from the ad hoc committee is to make all standalone trees that have to be shown are 10 inches. Again, you don't have to show any trees that are listed on the exotic and or invasive plant list published by the Tennessee Invasive Plant Council. We don't care about those. So that is, and then of course, 5102 simply is an enforcement mechanism that lists the natural features and irreplaceable assets as we have defined them in the previous statute. So that is really all that was changed from what we did here. I think the big news is some new proposals that came out of the ad hoc committee. Again, these new proposals are just proposals, and they again are unanimously supported by all of the commissioners. And I'll just take you through them. The ad hoc committee requests that the county planning commission form a working group or working group committees to consider and bring forth the following legislative proposals. First one is to establish a new zone, the A2 primary agriculture zone, to create a new zone in the county that has a minimum lot size of at least 3 acres and whatever other standards that we feel are appropriate for an A2 primary agriculture zone. Again, this is a proposal. Working group committee will come out with something. It'll have to go through hearings. It'll have to go through legal. It'll have to go through staff. You know, we don't have all the details yet. It's just the idea. Idea number 2 takes this to the next level. It proposes that a comprehensive zone change from A1 to A2 be considered for all or a select number of A1 zone properties that are also designated rural area in the Dixon County Growth Plan. Currently, those areas are in the north part of the county. You can see them on the map. And a comprehensive zone change is a big legislative process. So that will take some real planning. Again, there's no guarantee it'll get approved. No guarantee it'll even get out of planning commission. It's just a request that we work on it. The third one is to establish a direct notice requirement for zone change applications. And this would be that if a zone change application is made, the abutting property owners to the property for which the request is made receive direct notice of all public hearings and public meetings considering that zone change.
How do you consider that? By letter, by signage?
We'd have to figure out the best way to do it. It's not, you know, many jurisdictions around us do that. So we'd have to figure out the best way to do it.
Yeah,
And-
right now, we post the property, have to put it in the paper.
And the thinking there was that a zone change is such a significant effect on neighboring property owners that they deserve to know directly when it's being considered so they can become involved. The last one is to standardize minimum front yard setbacks in the A1 zone as 75 feet. Now, that's complicated because how we set it and where we set it from is what the working group would have to consider. Again, that's only for new development. That's not something that would be retroactive. But the idea is to standardize the front setback in the A1 zone to be something close to 75 feet, depending on where we take the measurement from. And those are the new proposals from the ad hoc committee. And again, I was surprised. I was surprised that we even had new proposals coming out of the ad hoc committee. But I was also surprised that these proposals were unanimously recommended by the ad hoc committee. And if you think about the members on that committee, they're not groups of people who always agree on everything. Yeah, So that's the proposal. My understanding from staff is that the subdivision and zoning code regulations, we have to talk to legal about it, but we're likely just going to treat it as new and bring it back just as if it were new proposals. And I don't think we can do that next month because we missed the window for notice.
We'll
So
bring back the zoning recommendations to the planning commission. That way they can go to public hearing in October at the county commission.
yeah,
Subdivision regulations will be public hearing in October.
okay. So that's the process for that.
Now, if you want to pick a working group tonight for any of this, we surely can do that.
I'll leave that to the chair to decide. My recommendation on the working group would be to let the commissioners kind of think this through and live with this for a while. And then we pick a working group next month after the commissioners have had a chance to think about it, talk to their people and come at it with some ideas.
Okay,
All right, so I think Danny was going to talk to the county commissioners about the districts it's going to affect. It's not
Yes.
going to be every district it would affect.
That's right. I think there's only 3 districts where it mostly affects. And so those commissioners are obviously going to have strong opinions about that.
would there be any variance on the front yard you're speaking of? If
Well,
it was served by sewer or by septic, is it
That's
something?
certainly one of the things the working group would have to consider.
Yes,
And of course, there's always the variance procedure that's already in our code for
Right
any
now, it's 50
regulation.
foot from the front setback, and the road right away varies, so it can be different from the center of the road.
thank you very much, Mr. Combs, for
Certainly,
that.
in conclusion, what I'd like to say is that first of all, I want to give, a lot of credit to the elected commissioners, especially Commissioner Williams, who chaired the committee. He ran the committee in a way that allowed us to really engage in a robust debate and a robust discussion, but it was always civil and it was always informed by what we thought was best for the county. Obviously, the government of a county is both an intersection between ideas and compromise. And so I'm very pleased that what we have before us is a compromise that reflects the input from the commission, the input from the community, and the input from the planning commission. So even though it took a long time to get here, I think we're now at a place where we can really stand behind what was done because it really reflects all of the stakeholders and a lot of thought and work. Thank you.
Thank you. So do you want to throw it out here for people's volunteer tonight to serve on that committee, or do you want to have Mr. Williams
I think
kick it
we should-
around
He
and
probably needs to talk to the.
Yeah, my recommendation is let Commissioner Williams talk to his colleagues and then let's look at the working group next month.
Right, because if they don't want it, then that's going to kill it right away. Yeah.
Well, thank you all for serving on that and working it up. It's been an uphill battle, I'm sure.
I have a question. What are
Yes.
the 3 districts that are mostly impacted?
It's going to be your ones in the north.
Okay.
It would be the 3rd district and the part of the 1st district and what's the one over?
Fourth.
Is it the 4th district over in the, yeah,
Okay.
It's a little different. It still
Yeah.
wants to run over there.
yeah, it's the northern third of the county pretty much is what's classified as a rural area. We have, if you want, we can email you a copy of the growth plan map, which shows that.
Yes, I would like that. Yes.
sawmills, we ain't gonna be at that night.
Right.
Even a comprehensive zone change is not going to require anyone to take down some of their uses or anything. They uses might become legal non-conforming, but in this county,
We have-
legal non-conforming uses can exist as long as they're not abandoned in perpetuity. We don't have a provision in our county to what's called amortized legal non-conforming uses. That's a fancy term for saying within a certain amount of years, you must eliminate the legal non-conforming use. We don't have that in Dixon County. So a legal non-conforming use doesn't affect the use of the property or the value of the property in this county.
We probably have thousands of non-conforming uses in the county.
There's no, we don't know about.
Well, that's true too.
Okay, it is. Thank you for that information and we'll get back on that next month. Does anybody else have anything else before the commission? If not, the next scheduled business meeting will be September the 8th, 2022 in this Booty Reed Commission Room. Motion to adjourn.